Hello, BookTube. It's Thursday. I thought I'd sort of revive my shelf tours. There's one section that is sort of nearby me here, just off camera. It's my sort of um, transportation, and I use that in quotation marks because it started out really just with items like about roads, British roads, bridges, and then things that went on the road were like coaches, and then where they stopped were taverns, coaching inns, and things like that. And then I sort of expanded it to include railways, railways, history of British railways, uh, inland sort of water, canals, shipping on rivers, and then coastal rivers, anything to do with that kind of thing of sort of transportation in or around the coast of the UK for the most part. Some books have a little bit of wider scope. And I've got a bookcase and a bit of this material, and there's really, I've never really organized it properly, so it's going to be a mishmash as we're going through of all those things. But there's some interesting books. And the first one here is a set. It's a 5 volume set, boxed set of, it was Abraham Rees's Cyclopedia that he did it in the early 1800s. He lived from late 1700s to third decade, I think, somewhere in the 20s, 1820s that he died. And he put out this huge encyclopedia of sort of uh, it's like an industrial thing. Well, these volumes are just have I gotta get it somewhere so I can handle this. They're very heavy. It's a heavy set. Oh, as you can see. Um, Let me see if I can do this. Here's volume one. It's the manufacturing industry. It was originally put out in, I think it was 30, almost 40 volumes, 39 or 40 volumes that included a number of volumes in text as well. This one is only manufacturing industry, so it's not quite sort of my transport, but the reason it's there is for lack of anywhere else, but also because it's got a big section on canals and things like that. So it's an encyclopedia. Yeah, it says here Abraham Rees's Monumental Cyclopedia, which appeared in parts between 1802 and 1819, was one of the first works of its kind to be published in English, which gave more than a passing reference to contemporary industry and technology. This new printing provides in 5 volumes in the original alphabetical form the articles on manufacturing industry. Neil Cousins has added an introduction and a bibliographic note to the work, or to a work which is invaluable to historians of technology. This volume covers 47 subjects from acetic acid to casting and includes sections of plates illustrating bleaching, canals, candle making, and casting. See back a panel for a complete list of contents. But yeah, they're large volumes. They're all sort of looking like this, and double columned. Let's see if we get ammonia. But as I say, the reason I got it was I got it because it was very cheap. It was published by David and Charles, a publisher that I really like. Um, and um, yeah. So yeah, so it doesn't really fit within this. Sorry, I just had a thought, but it wasn't worthwhile to continue. It's a selection, yeah, from the Encyclopedia or Universal Dictionary of Arts, Sciences, and Literature. And this was published by David and Charles in 1972. Uh, it's an interesting set. As I say, it doesn't quite fit in here, but it's on the shelf, so we'll count that. Now, I have to put this back and get this on the floor because for me to do this other pile that's beside me on the... Oh, this is not easy. Oh, don't want to drop it and damage them. Okie dokie. Now, it's a lot of these, as I said, it's a little mix of things. There's a lot of train stuff on this first shelf, with a few other things, like a few bridges things. So I've pulled, like, yeah, I've had some stuff in the past, so everything that was sort of relevant to the subject area were put on these shelves, this bookcase. Like this first one here was a sort of local history. It's the bridges of Bedfordshire, and it's written by Angela Simcoe and Peter McKeague. It's the Bedford Archaeological Monograph #2, and it's exactly what it is. It's history and archaeological history of bridges in Bedford, 1997, by the Bedfordshire County Council, published. It's got lots of photographs and archaeological sketches, maps, and so forth, and drawings. So yeah, and this is that's the bridges aspect. Oh, that box set will be good to pile stuff on. And some of these are sort of general, but and this one is kind of neat. It's Channel Harbors, Solent to Portland, Barford to St. Malo in the Channel Islands. So it's a little more further afield, but it's instrumental in introducing the lovely coasts of the Channel Islands and the French coast. So it's not quite the sort of outline that I was saying about transportation around England. So it's a little further afield, but it's a Channel Island, so I went as far as that. And it's got lots of photographs in, maps of currents and depths, and just the coastal areas, the harbors and whatnot, throughout the Channel Islands and France. See, there's the map of the Channel Islands and France. It's published by Edward Arnold Publishers, originally in 1956. This is reprinted in 1961, and it's an interesting little book. I haven't read it from cover to cover. When I got it, I perused and read little bits of it, which was quite interesting. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. This is the Clyde River and Other Steamers. It's a little rough shaped, the jacket, but it's a book of literally that. It's the steamers on the Clyde River. It's the Clyde River fleet of steamers has a reputation without peer, and visitors from all over the world have charming memories of pleasure cruising on the distinguished ships which have formed the fleet. And it's a history of that, and it's basically a listing of all the steamers. And like there's one here called Princess Maud, and it was built and acquired in 1904, disposed of in 1932. Gives a little history of it, and it goes through for all those. And also too, which are really cool, is, well, the photographs are really neat too, but I'll get to the sort of appendices, which are really, really interesting. Their charts, like here is it's the complete fleet list, and it lists you know, the dates built, acquired, and disposed in the first column. And it's got the name of the ship. It's got the type of ship. It's got the shipbuilders and engine builders list of each ship. That it goes on page after page after page. Just all sorts of stuff. It's got the tonnage, other remarks like a barge registered at Liverpool, barge, Bowness, tug and inspection steamer, and it just goes on, page after page. Like there's a good. Let's see here. It starts on page. Try to find page number 185, and it goes to page 245. So that's 60 pages of just listings of the names and all the details of each of all the steamers and boats in the Clyde River fleet. This was published by Duckworth Press, Glasgow. Well, it says, that's weird. It says, oh, sorry, I thought it was it's by C.L.D. Duckworth and G.E. Langmuir. It's Brown and Son Ferguson Limited, Glasgow, 1937 originally, and this is the second edition, 1946. The as I say, though, that appendice is really neat, and there's a lot of them like that. Gives all the details of the ships and their dates. Even some of them, like passenger ones on the Thames, I've got something that is really cool. That it gives, like, how much the tickets were and everything like that. Really, really cool stuff. Here's the same book again. It's a different edition. This might be this is the third edition, 1972. So it's bigger. It's got more detail in it. But it's 1972 edition. One so much not, but again, it sort of fits in with this. Because it's on the river, and it's things that are on the river, and where like ships would or canal boats or rivers or whatnot would stop at. So I added those two because they were available. The watermills of Britain, and it's just a general history of watermills. There's a little poem with about a watermill. It's David and Charles again, Newton Abbots, Leslie Sison, and was written in 1980. And it's literally just a general overview of watermills in England. And there's lots of things that are sort of tipped into it as well. There's the the wheels. Those are tipped in pages. There's photographs of the wheels. Just a general history of watermills, and ones that are still extant and still in operation, as well as ones that are, there's drawings or etchings of ones that have long gone. So yeah, I've got a few watermills ones throughout this collection. Okay, here's another one that's sort of similar to the Clyde one. Is the Solent passengers and their steamers. It's a nice looking book. It's published by the Isle of Wight County Press. It's Solent passages. Sorry, not passages. Passages and their steamers, 1820 to 1981, by R.K. Davies. And there we go. There's a little steamer that's going to a bigger cruise ship. This was published in 1982. It says first edition, but it's literally just another listing of all the ships and the details of each ship, of each steamer. Probably not using that correctly. Ship. I'm sure Mark Richardson is probably cringing when I call a steamer a ship, but I know there's certain designations, but yeah, it's just got all the, like here, like the P.S. Duchess of Kent, built 1897 by Day Summers of Southampton. Dimensions 399 tons, length 195.4 feet. I guess there's something I don't know what to be, 26.1, and depth 9 feet, and machinery steam compound diagonal with 2 cylinders of 32 inch and 59 inch times by 60 inch, giving 225 horsepower. By Day Summers of Southampton. Speed 4 knots, capacity 819 passengers. And it gives a little bit of history of each one, and it's just I just sort of love these books because you can just open them up and look at the photographs of the steamers, and that's 1968. It is chronological, and you just get a little history of each steamer. It's like if you're writing anything, very, very, very valuable information. You could get full details of every ship. What's this here? Old Southampton Shores. Oh, there we go. I was looking for something like that at George's. It's George's Bookmark from George's, which was a shop in Bristol. Apparently, there's still a bookshop there. I think it's could be a Waterstones on the same location. But it was interesting that I wish I had this to show when I was doing my uninvited book to film, because the character goes to Bristol and he goes to George's to open up an account to buy books, and that's the bookshop that he would have went to. So I found that kind of interesting. Yeah, this is Old Southampton Shores. It's tide mills and landing places, music halls, famous docks, public health campaigns, and maritime flying. All these are discussed here and present a new dimension in the history, now exciting keen interest among students of the past, whether experts or casual readers. So it's like, yeah, coastal ports and things like that are part of my collection here too. It's sometimes hit or miss. It's whatever I could find, and cheaply. And there was a huge shipping collection that was bought by my local bookshop, and so I hoovered up everything that I was sort of interested in. Here's one: Liverpool Central Docks, 1799 to 1905, an illustrated history. It's a beautiful book by Adrian Jarvis. This is Alan Sutton, National Museums and Galleries on Merseyside. And this was published in 1991. And it's exactly what it says. It's just a history of the Liverpool Central Docks. And it's got photographs, sort of contemporary and older photographs, the building the docks, and with masted ships. It's got, yeah, just, goes by chronological history. And I did not say the publisher of the previous one, the Old Southampton Shores. That's David and Charles, again, 1967. Written by JPM Panel. So, here's a little one again, Shores, and that's the thing that's why I sort of expanded when I saw stuff. Yeah, that sort of fits in. It's the Shores, a place where either people go and they'll see ships and stuff like this. And here's a little. It's Cambridge University Press, a little volume. It's a Craftsman series, but it's the Bell Rock Lighthouse. And it's kind of interesting because I gotta check this up. It's I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. It's by Robert Stevenson, civil engineer. Um, and civil engineer, passages selected from an account of the Bell Rock Lighthouse published in 1824 and edited by A.F. Collins, BSc. It's Cambridge at the University Press, 1931. But it's got a sort of it's like an excerpted history of the Bell Rock Lighthouse. But there's an inscription here, and it says to J. Audley, I think, Esquire, and it does say it's a Stevenson. It's signed by something Stevenson. I don't know if there's any connection to Stevenson, the engineer, and which is connection with Stevenson, the writer, as well. So he was from the family of engineers. So that's kind of interesting. Here's some more general ones, but these were, I think, very cheap. Like they were £1 or something. There's some ones that are sort of nice picture books on trains. This is British Mainline Services in the Age of Steam, 1900 to 1968, by Michael Harris. Beautiful cover, beautiful looking book. It's very general, and this was published by. Written by Michael Harris. It's an imprint of Haynes Company. It's Oxford Publishing Company, an imprint of Haynes Publishing. And it's just a history of little things like Great Western Railway and South Wales Railways to 1922. It's very general history, but it's got some really good photos in here of actual trains, which is quite nice. And the back is just a continuation. Let's just open that up, and so you can see the whole thing. And this is a whole series of ones, but it's okay. It's very general. It's a good place just to read a little introduction regarding it. And this is like this one too, but it's more of an art book, but it's quite nice. It's the railway paintings, painting of Terence. Sorry, I can't quite see the name there. Terence Cuneo, New Cavendish Books, London. 1984, and it's just a art book of his train paintings. Just some fabulous stuff. Like it's modern stuff as well as steam. Well, modern in the sense of diesel trains as well as steam, and they're sort of from all over the world, but it's like a lot of British stuff in there as well, so that's quite nice. Here's another one. Here's one of these very sort of, you could have a whole house full of these type of books. They're just, picture books basically of steam engines, various steam engines. It's Gordon, England's Great Western Steam Album, compiled by R.J. Blenkinsthop. But, I did get a few of these because a few of them have some fabulous photos in of, that are full page and whatnot, and the description of the trains, just, the number of the train and so forth. That was the one thing that I sort of missed getting. Like I got those ones that I like regarding the ships that give the the details of the ships. There were some train, like there was a train collection that came in, and there was some train books that had, it was just basically a listing of the trains, the numbers of the trains and all the details of them, and I go, oh, I'm not interested in that. But it's like I kick myself for not getting those, because they are like because after I started looking at the shipping books, and I thought this is really cool, and then I went back. Obviously, it was too late to get the train ones. You snooze, you lose. So, oh well, maybe someday they'll come up cheap again. Okay, here, yeah, okay. Well, as I say, roads and what goes on roads. I got a few things on horse travel on roads, the manufacture of roads, the history of roads in England, and then we get to early cars on roads, motor vehicles. I sort of stretched the thing because I really was only going. I was trying to keep everything pre 1900, but I think I've sort of stretched it up into the 20s a little bit for cars. Um, and here's Behind the Wheel: The Magic and Manners of Early Motoring. It's a fun book. It's nothing huge special regarding it. It's written by Lord Montague of Balliol and F. Wilson Macomb, Paddington Press, and it was published in 1977. Lord Montague of Balliol, or however you pronounce it, he was a lord, and he had he inherited a huge house. Uh, well, as Lord Montague, he is a lord, obviously, but he had some scandal early in his life, but he wanted to keep the keep the property and keep the house. So his father had, I think, a few antique early motor cars. So he started collecting more, and it's turned into a huge museum of motor vehicles, like even more recent ones like racing vehicles, and they built like huge buildings to house this huge collection, and it's a huge thing for the estate, and it's allowed the estate to keep, and I think it's still in the family. I don't know. I don't think he's still alive, but he might be. But yeah, so it's a really neat thing, and it's got everything. It's got there's petrol cans, tools, the inside of vehicles, and just photographs and other excerpts from diaries and letters and so forth of riding and motoring during early periods, early petrol stations and things like that. So it's quite interesting. Okay. What else is there on roads? Conveyance side of things. There's bicycles. Here's just a brief introduction. Early Bicycles by Nick Clayton. It's just one of the Shire albums. They're little staple little pamphlets that are very short, like they're 30-40 pages long. And this one was done in 1994, it says. There's a whole huge, like there's probably a few hundred of these in total on every subject you could think of. And they're fun. They're quick little things. Um, there's nothing special, but about them. They're just a brief introduction to the subject. A very brief introduction. Here we go. Here's a nice set. Uh, okay, that's what that is. This is the history of the Great Western Railway in 3 books, 2 volumes. Part one, volume one, part one, and part two. It was a set that I sort of put together, so the fading on the cloth isn't quite exactly the same. This is volume 1, 1833 to 1863, Great Western Railway Company. It's got like the frontispiece is a fold-out map. You usually don't see fold-outs for frontispieces, so that was kind of neat. Let's see here. Get this back in here somehow. There we go. Didn't want to fit back in there. It's a little rough. It was published in 1927, and it's got again old photographs of trains that were on the Great Western Railway. So it's a history of said railway. This is volume 2, which goes up to 1921. So 1863 to 21. Now we get to Canals. As I say, it's everything's mixed up here. So, and that's gonna have to be sorted at some point. But I've got to sort of rearrange these, and some of them will be put out of sight for a while, or at least not out of sight, but inaccessible for quite a while, because I need to make some space. But that's why it's nice to go through these as well. This is a canal one. This is David and Charles put in a whole bunch of canals. It's their little series of walking canals. I think it's the only one I have from this series. This is edited by Ronald Russell, and it's David and Charles, as I said, 1984. And this is a general one on walking canals. But I'm pretty sure it's a series, so it's a little collection. I think it's a collection of writings. Yes, collection of walks. The people writing on the walks. Like there's an introduction on the canals, a general history of the canals themselves, and then just specific writings on various canals written by a number of people, including Ronald Russell, the editor, with little maps. There's photographs. There's period photographs as well. There's no dust jacket for that. It was just a laminated cover. And we got another one on windmills and mill writing. This is Stanley Freese, another David and Charles book, and it's just another general book on windmills and millwright. 1957. Just like 100 years ago, the windmill was a sight so common that it was hardly noticed. Today, there are few windmills left. In this unique book, first published in 1957, and of recent years much sought and unattainable, Stanley Freese describes and illustrates how windmills were built and how they were actually used. So it's not quite so much transportation, but again, a lot of the windmills were used for like grinding, water mills for grinding flour and so forth. So there's going to be roads that are nearby, and there are going to be stopover areas. It's a bit of a tenuous connection, but it works. It works in my mind, especially I'm interested in it, and also they were available and cheap. And there's a diagram of what is the diagram of exactly. The detail of a windmill. Yeah, it's the detail diagram of the windmill. Oh, we're getting there. Let's see. Oh, I'm running out of time. Paddle steamers, another one of these thin, simple books on paddle steamers. Published. It's a Batsford book. It's introduction commentary by Richard Clammer. It's 1980. It's reprinted in 1983. It's not a very detailed book, and photographs. Some of the older ones aren't the greatest, but it's a little introduction, and I think that came from a charity shop for like 10p or something like that. And an Oxford Companion to British Railway History, edited by Jack Simon and Gordon Biddle. It's a big book, and it's a dictionary type. It's usual for the Oxford Companions. Oxford University Press. First 1997 hardcover, and then this is the 2003 reprint of it. So, and here we go, British Independent Light Railways. Another David and Charles laminated cover, very, very thin. It's just a very brief overview of light railways. This was, as I say, David and Charles. There's no date. There's no copyright page. Where that's in the back. That's where it is. No, it's bibliography. I don't know when it was published in. Sorry. Looks like sort of late 70s, early 80s. It's probably 80s, and it's a lot of photographs and very brief introduction to each light railway. Now we get on to this is a little more general, but it was a nice book. It's the Times, The First Railways by Derek Hayes. It's a larger format book, and it's just a very nicely illustrated color history of early railways all over the world. There's like a lot of British stuff as well, but it's like Darlington. There's old maps with it, period photographs and drawings. It's just quite neat, and it is and it's literally it's an atlas of and it was published the Times, but published by Times Books, 2017. Oh, so it's quite new. And then we get this big honking one, The Lore of the Train. And it's got, big, diagrams of trains and colored photographs, as well as black and white photographs, drawings. It's just, that's later ones. It's like early ones. It's just, fabulous book. It's done by George Allen and Unwin, limited by C. Hamilton Ellis, and 1971. And it's got a bit of a pond. The covers are warping a bit, but yeah, it's a nice big book. So there's shelf one of sort of my transportation collection. I'm not sure how often I'll be doing these. It won't be one a day. It'll probably be a couple a week. I might do one on Sunday or Monday again. But anybody who's interested in this kind of stuff, do leave some comments. And for those interested in trains, there'll be lots more trains. Those interested in canals and shipping, there'll be lots more of those. There's books on, as I say, carriages and conveyances, all sorts, but mostly dealing with England. Anyway, take care, BookTube. I'll see you next time.